Well, the 42-year-old bishop accused of allegedly performing sexual acts with a 17-year-old boy at his church premises in Springbok in the Northern Cape has been granted bail of 2,000 rands under strict conditions. The man appeared in court today with his congregation attending his hearing in his support. The case has also been transferred to the regional court. The bishop is charged with allegedly performing a sexual act with a minor and with compelling the victim to witness a sexual act. The town of Springbok in the Northern Cape is still shocked following these allegations. All other news at the hour, the South African Special Risk Insurance Association, Sasria, has unveiled a documentary that showcases the extensive damages which occurred during the 2021 civil unrest. The documentary premiered in KwaMashu township, which was one of the areas hardest hit by the riots. SABC News reporter Simphiwe Makhanya spoke to Sasria CEO Mpumi. Tyikwe, take a look.
As we get closer to the anniversary of the 2021 July unrest, the company Sasria has just unveiled a documentary which really reflects on the incidents which happened during that very unfortunate period in South Africa. Of course, you'd recall that over 350 lives were lost as a result of the unrest, and countless of damages, were inflicted on businesses that were operating in various communities here in KwaZulu-Natal as well as in the province of Gauteng. But to talk to us more about this documentary and the message behind the documentary, I'm now joined by the CEO of Sasria, Mr. Mpumi. Tyikwe, thank you so much, sir, for your time as always.
Thank you.
First and foremost, why this documentary?
Well, we wanted to remind South Africans of what happened during that tragic moment in our history. I mean, this is the most tragic moment we've had post our democracy. So it started on the 9th of July where people started protesting, and then over a period of 9 days, more than 32 billion rands, that was the cost to Sasria of damages was done. The cost to the overall economy was more than 60 billion rands. And as you said, Simphiwe, lives were lost. And this is really the sad consequence when protests are accompanied by violence. I believe now that we are in a democracy, we should be in a position to protest, but protest more peacefully. And the other impact it's had, especially here in KwaZulu-Natal, more than 30,000 jobs were lost, which meant that people lost their livelihoods. You remember, we're just recovering from COVID, and then you add this, and then you add the floods that KwaZulu-Natal have happened, and so on. So this was an additional strain to the communities of KwaZulu-Natal.
Looking at, of course, this anniversary that is coming on the 9th, and also the lessons that perhaps as a country we may have learned or may not have learned, where do you think we sit in terms of where we've come as a country?
Look, we are still, as a country, in a difficult space. It's quite sad to say so, but that's the reality of the situation. I mean, more recently, the South African Reserve Bank released statistics which show that a lot of South Africans, just under 300,000 South Africans, lost jobs in the formal sector. We've got low economic growth. Communities in north of Tshwane, in Hammanskraal, are battling with cholera. You've seen what is happening in Diepsloot, where people are complaining about high levels of criminality. We've got here in KwaZulu-Natal, the infrastructure isn't quite recovered from the July event, plus the flooding that has happened. So South African society is under a lot of pressure, and of course, load shedding, even though we are seeing that it's eased at the moment, is also added on to the strain that an ordinary South African is feeling. So I believe as South Africans we are in a difficult space, and it is incumbent upon leaders like myself, companies like Sasria, and the rest of the business community, and also the politicians, that we work together to try and find sustainable solutions that will give South Africans more hope that things are getting better, not worse.
How many claims did you receive as a result of the civil unrest in July? And also, how many of those have you been able to process?
Yes, we received claims in the order of 17,500 claims. But of course, in that 17,500 claims, that doesn't tell you the full story. Because you'll find that certain customers will have many of their stores affected by the looting, but we will still count that as one claim because they have one policy. But it covered quite a number of areas within KwaZulu-Natal and also in Gauteng. So we dealt with 17,500 claims, and the amount that we had to pay is 32 billion rands. As I speak to you now, we have settled as Sasria 97% of those claims.
What about the outstanding ones? Is it the issue of the money from your side or the issue of the paperwork that needs to be finalized?
Look, from a financial point of view, I'm really happy to say that Sasria is in a better state than it was before the July 2021 event. We are sitting with reserves in excess of 10.5 billion rands as I speak to you. So it's not a question of money, it's just a question of there are certain claims where, for instance, we've got certain disputes with the clients. Those are only 4, by the way. So it's not quite a large number of claims. And then, of course, there are certain buildings that are being built as we speak. My colleagues were at KwaNongoma yesterday to check the progress of the building that we are reinstating there. Here in KwaMashu, 2 months ago, we reopened Bridge City, allowing about 8,000 people to come back to work. So yes, so it's those delays, not necessarily paperwork. We've got all the information. It's others, there's a dispute about the amount that they want, and in others, it's just that the people are still busy with construction.
For members of the public who may want to actually watch this documentary, where do they access it? And also, more importantly, the message that you are trying to send through this documentary.
The documentary will be published on our website. People can go to sasria.co.za where they can find a link to the website. We're gonna allow communities to have access because data can be a challenge in certain areas where they can watch a 5-minute video, and this particular one was just under 40 minutes. So people can watch it that way. Hopefully we will get one of the TV broadcasters like yourself to take it up and broadcast it to the community at large.
Mr. Tyikwe, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
The CEO of Sasria, Mr. Mpumi Tyikwe, explaining to us essentially the message that the company is trying to send by airing this documentary, which reflects on the unfortunate events which claimed the lives of over 350 people in South Africa. I expect you in Johannesburg.